This person says, it greets me and then says, I was wondering if you might talk a bit about stepping into your autonomy that is associated with the experiential falling away of the center slash self slash ego structure, question mark. I've never been prone to, quote, big grand moments, unquote, and so much of the past few years has been a sort of thinning of the veils of the mind slash self, where there is just less and less of a me, quote unquote, as time goes on. It's only in hindsight, for the most part, that the paradigm has shifted. While there has been many moments of great fear, rage, confusion during the quote process, unquote, it's always been smooth in the sense that I've never really been interested in control, relatively speaking. I enjoy the falling away of me and letting life move me. For me, when energy, life, the body is more still, then the center can totally fall away. Yet it returns, especially when I am physically active and energy is really moving. What I noticed the past few months is that when energy activity is more passive, life seems to be able to function smoothly with, quote, I'm not, no self, no center, unquote. But when energy activity is more active, there is this other sense of non-local presence that needs to come to the fore. I am. This person speaking of I am coming to the fore, but not as a self. This is the part I am finding really challenging. Experientially, quote, I'm not, unquote, is natural for my system, but capital I am is so foreign to the system. Anything you might share on this, whether it be advice or a share or your own experience with that area, would be greatly valued. So this brings a new topic into play for this tonight's talk, which is that as the energetic shift out of a sense of personal self that is more concretized in a sense of separate ego, when those energetics open more and when that rigidified sense of self softens and there is a growing sense of less of me, there can be still a movement to engage in life in very deliberate ways. And I talk to many people who have challenges with that, particularly when something feels off in a conversation, in what's happening in a situation before them, where they feel that something precious is being missed or not cared for, or something is just really being distorted and needs to be rectified. You know, um, I have a sister-in-law who has this saying that I just love, and sometimes when she was especially mothering her children when they were younger and they did something inappropriate, she would say, "Hey, that's not okay." And she just said it like just right out there. And I always loved her directness and simplicity with that. And or she would say things like, "Ouch, what you just did hurts, and that's not okay. And you can't hurt people." And, so just simple statements that um, come to the foreground to rectify a situation, to set it aright. And these are just simple examples, beautiful examples in my world, quite powerful, and create a sense of boundary for behavior that I think is appropriate in mothering. And yet sometimes things are we're interacting with people who aren't children, who are coworkers or who, you know, um, we feel should know better in their behaviors or things like that. And it can take often a strong um, a statement or action to disrupt something that's really gone awry. And so often people will tell me they may feel less and less a sense of egoic self, but yet there's still this intelligence within them that is more based in a sense of wholeness, that senses when things are becoming, off, out of balance, or divided, injurious, if that's the word. And they'll just feel this energy rising in themselves. And often they'll watch themselves saying things like, hey, that's not okay. Or, whatever it is that they say to disrupt what's happening and rectify the situation. And sometimes that energy can come in a very, very strong way. Usually, the more off a situation is, the stronger that energy is. And it can feel other. It doesn't always feel personal. It can feel like some influx of energy that just rallies one system to the heights of alertness, and boom, is quicker than thought, just begins to say things that even surprise us as our personal self is observing them. And sometimes those things are received well. Sometimes, we can have pushback. But what I've noticed and what I can say to the person who wrote in is that strong influx of energy that this person's calling the I am, that doesn't feel personal, but just has this intelligence to rectify situations, that the more you step out of the way, even if it feels uncomfortable, like, oh my gosh, there's this strong energy, it can almost feel like anger. It's so um, palpable and forceful that you might want to feel like you want to put a lid on it, because many of us are taught to kind of dampen down our anger or control our anger. And these strong energies feel like something that we're supposed to dampen down. But often it's the case where if we just sort of let it rip, that something very intelligent gets spoken, and it's quicker than thought, and it's often extremely on point and appropriate to the situation. And it's not always nicey nicey, but neither is it mean. It's usually more truthful, more factual, and sets a tone and a limit.